Dr. How, hi guys, today, sorry, I blanked out. Let's try that again. Dr. How, hi guys, it's today, and welcome back to my channel. And today we are continuing the live read-alongs of The Disabled Tyrant and His Beloved Pet Fish. Wow, this is not a promising start to the live. I hope that I don't end up struggling as much with the rest of the live as I did just with that intro. But anyway, hi, if you're new here, I'm Janae. I do download read-alongs, and we are currently busy with volume 1 of, as I mentioned, The Disabled Tyrant and His Beloved Pet Fish. And I have T here with me, and we generally take a break within the hour, on the hour, for 10 minutes, and then come back for another like 50 minutes of reading. So there you go. I hope the audio is okay. Hi. Oh my word, I feel like I'm just doing this for the first time ever. It is definitely a readjustment curve trying to get used to the lives again after the very untidy schedule that I've had with them the last while. Anyway, oh, hi, good to see you again. I feel like it's been a while. Um, so for anyone who is following along with the actual novel themselves, we are on, I believe, page 190 or 91, chapter 20, A Fleeting Glance. Oh, I feel like that's the first time we don't have like fish in the title in quite a while, so I'm curious to see how this goes. I'm doing okay. We're managing. Like the burnout is doing its thing, but we're managing. Hi. So I think we can more or less get started. Let me just grab a sip of tea. Also, I put a poll up on Patreon and um, just the channel in general. It does, like, it's not really important, but it's also kind of important. I just kind of want to get a sense of why people are subscribed to the channel, like for which Asian reactions. So if you haven't participated in the poll and you're interested, you can check it in the community tab. Anyway, with that said, I think we can just get started. Perhaps Leah had been a fish for far too long and was too used to the swishing motions of swimming, but it was a little harder than he expected to control his legs. At first it felt like he was floating rather than walking, and he kept stumbling, but this feeling didn't persist for very long, and he soon got used to it. Because he didn't have suitable shoes, his feet were bare. Luckily, the weather was warm, so he didn't feel cold. Prince Jing's manor was kept very clean, and by paying attention to the ground beneath his feet, he managed to avoid getting into any accidents after he made his way out of the ornamental mountain. I like that little detail that he's struggling to walk, it makes sense. But with bare feet and only inner robes, he was a terrible eyesore. That was also why the servants who ran into the unfamiliar Liu didn't dare approach and question him. Prince Jing was hosting a banquet today. The manor was filled with guests, all of whom were nobility or aristocracy, and who needed an invitation to enter. There were guards keeping watch outside the manor too, so there wouldn't be strangers wandering within the manor walls. Oh, if only you knew. Someone bold enough to dress like this was probably some lord's son acting out. But it also wasn't appropriate to just let this little lord wander around like this. Someone had already dashed off to retrieve Wang Gong Gong, so you could take care of it. Sorry, I just had a thought, but let me just at least complete the sentence. Other people followed Liu from a distance. A kind auntie servant saw Liu walking barefoot and couldn't bear to watch any longer. She came up to him and asked in a gentle voice, "Which family are you from? Why are you dressed like this?" Oh goodness, really trying to be polite here. Hi. So my thought here that I just suddenly had, because I was thinking, in the previous chapter they mentioned his hair being longer, um, and him being grateful to the system for that. But then I was wondering, is it because of how much time has passed that his hair has kind of like in the background on his human body continued growing, and that's why it's longer? And then I had the very grim thoughts of how long do these fish live, and should we be worried about it? Heard Wang Shi talk quite a lot. Liu didn't have any problem speaking to other people in ancient times. He replied vaguely, "Ma'am, I'm here as a guest. I got lost." He thought he had everything down pat when he'd been planning this all out, but complications kept cropping up. First, he had neither clothes nor shoes. Then, after he figured that out, he thought the kitchens would be easy to find, except Prince Jing's manor was way too big. He was too afraid to ask for directions and was starting to get frustrated and anxious. It had already been hard enough to find his way out of the ornamental mountain. The auntie could see this young man's face was clean, delicate, and likable. His dark eyes were exceptionally spirited, looking like a pair of black beads submerged in mercury. She couldn't help the fondness flooding her heart. "If the little lord is lost, how about I take you to see Wang Gong?" said the auntie. There was no way he could come face to face with Wang Shi. "No need," he said hurriedly. "Wang Gong must be at Ninghui Hall right now. I'll be able to find my way back. But auntie, do you know where the kitchens are?" He rubbed his stomach, face red-faced. The auntie immediately understood and chuckled. "Is the little lord hungry? If you think me trustworthy, please follow me." The auntie was wearing what the servants at the prince's manor wore, and she had an apron on. Leah implicitly trusted Prince Jing's servants, so he followed the auntie into the kitchens. Leah talked with her the whole way there and found out the auntie was cooking in Prince Jing's kitchens. Leah felt he had hit the jackpot. There was no way he was going to go hungry with the cook leading the way. This auntie's last name was Xu. When the two arrived at the kitchens, Leah's eyes nearly fell out of their sockets. Here at last were the dishes that he had been dreaming about day in and day out. Auntie Xie brought out a plate and with a smile and asked Leah what he liked to eat. Leah stared at the food, drooling, and listed out the whole bunch of dishes shamelessly. Auntie Xie picked out a few based on his preferences and carried over two whole plates along with a wooden bowl packed full of steaming white rice on a tray. "These dishes have already been brought out to the masters, so they won't need them anymore. These are all extras. No one's going to touch them. No one's touched them yet. Please eat as much as you want." Oh, that's actually really sweet. I was a little bit scared just because the book was building up. Oh, Leah trusted them implicitly because they're Prince Jing's servants and so on, and then I thought, oh no, that trust is gonna be broken. But no, this is actually really sweet. This was the first time anyone had been so kind to him since he'd turned back into a human. The thick steam rising from the food made his eyes water. He thanked Auntie Xie, accepted the bowl, and began wolfing it down. The unique taste of human food bloomed on the tip of his tongue, making him feel like his time as a fish had been nothing but a dream. And yet, staring down at his bare feet, he remembered the medicine was just a temporary fix. Very soon, he would turn back into a fish. Auntie Xue saw he was inhaling the food as though he hadn't been fed in several days and urged him to slow down in case he choked. Leah smiled, but didn't explain. "Little lord, why are you alone?" Auntie Xue asked hesitantly. The youth before her was about the same age as her younger son, and she couldn't help but feel concerned. Her words brought his worries back to mind, but he couldn't mention Prince Jing outright, so he replied, My master is about to get married. He won't have time for me anymore, so I came out for a stroll." Oh no, oh no, oh no. She's been referring to you as a little lord, and a little lord does not have a master. This is gonna be a mess. Oh no. Um, I hope Auntie Shia won't get in trouble though. Yeah, I haven't even thought about that yet. Love him for that. Foodie is also relatable. Yes, I think the first real foodie that I had seen in Chinese media was uh, I can't remember his name, but the main character from Sleuth of the Ming Dynasty, and it just opened my eyes to how glorious that can be as a character trait. Okay, sorry, we totally sidetracked there. Auntie Shia paused. Master? Married? Was this youth the male concubine for some noble? No wonder he had run out in such a rumpled state. He had probably been tossed out by the future wife and gone hungry for some time. Auntie Shia's imagination conjured up a whole scene of the D wife dealing with the side wife. Leah made it sound pitiful, but she didn't look down on him. On the contrary, she patted his hand kindly and comforted him. Don't worry, stay here for a little longer and eat some more. But he couldn't continue walking around in just his inner robes. After taking a quick glance at Leah's size, Auntie Shia pulled out a set of her young son's clean robes and a pair of cloth shoes. Oh my goodness, she's like really quickly crawling into my heart. But let's keep going. That is just so sweet, though. The robes were jade green, the same color as the seaweed that Leah liked. Leah had just been worrying about what to do about his clothes and shoes, and he was delighted by this turn of events. He briefly considered discarding what he wore already as he changed, but in the end, he decided to continue wearing Prince Jing's inner robes and underwear. Auntie Shir probably thought Leah would feel awkward if she probed any further, so she didn't continue asking. Finally, getting the chance to indulge in human food, Leah only very reluctantly put down his chopsticks when there was a slight bulge rounding his stomach. After he finished, he followed Auntie Shir around the kitchens, using it as an opportunity to digest the food he just ate, a habit he'd picked up from being in Prince Jing's care and maintained even as a human. Oh goodness. She's so sweet. She's like a fairy godmother. Yes. Yes, we are definitely getting a little bit of the Cinderella moments here. We first had Ariel and now we're getting Cinderella. Um not my brain Disneyfying everything. The ancient's kitchen was bustling with activity. The assortment of knives and cutting boards caught Leo's attention, but he knew to look only with his eyes and keep his hands to himself, so the cooks didn't get mad. He also noticed a fish basket and remembered that noble consort's 1,000 carp soup from when he first transmigrated. He asked curiously, Auntie, are you going to make 1,000 carp soup too? I would not feel very comfortable with the idea considering I am now one of them. Yes, Cinderella Lee. Yeah. Oh, goodness. Auntie Shir laughed. That's a dish for birthday banquets in the palace. The prince's manor doesn't have such customs. His Highness did have fish soup often in the past, but he stopped now. Oh, I'm taking it at face value that it's because of him now owning a fish that he doesn't have the heart to eat fish anymore. As Auntie Shir spoke, it seemed more and more like she was just talking to herself. But Li Ye heard and thought, is that because of me? After all, Prince Jing really did dote on him. As he thought about all the different ways Prince Jing was good to him, Li Ye couldn't help feeling a little sad. Auntie Shir smiled as she asked him, did you ask about fish soup because you wanted some? Leo shook his head and emphatically, please no. Why would he, a fish, drink fish soup? Please no. Oh my word, he and I are on exactly the same page. I literally just said please no and then he said it. Um I share the same brain cell as a fish. That is very encouraging. It's so windy today, dang. Is it? Where are you guys at? I wouldn't be surprised if Prince Jing banned all fish dishes. We appreciate that. Mm. According to according to his plan, after eating and enjoying a little opera, he should be heading back. He had already lost a substantial amount of time due to the issues of clothes and getting lost, and he didn't know how much longer he had. Auntie Xie informed him that the stage was in the Yayin garden near Ninghui Hall. Leah made to hurry there, but he caught a glimpse of a few bamboo boxes just before he left. These bamboo boxes looked familiar to Leah. Auntie Xue generously opened a few to show him. This is the fish food His Highness asked for specifically. There are so many kinds, though. It's not anything rare. Oh my goodness. For some reason, Leah's nose started to sting, as if he was about to cry. He pointed at the box holding the red fish food. Could I take some? Auntie Xue said, Of course, the kitchens have plenty, so we won't run out, but this is for fish. Are you sure you want some? Leah nodded. Yes. Auntie Xue packed up half a box for him, assuming he also had a fish. Leah stuffed it into his sleeve the way people in ancient times did. Then he thanked Auntie Xie and headed towards Yayin Garden. As he passed Ninghui Hall, he definitely had to hold himself back from peeking in, Leah thought wearily. At this time, the main characters, top and bottom, were meeting. It had nothing to do with him, and there was no need for a fish to do anything. I'm waiting for them to encounter each other and for the prince to fall in love. I'm gonna be so disappointed if we don't get that. He steadfastly avoided looking in the direction of Ninghui Hall. As Yayin Garden, at Yayin Garden, he could hear the sounds of the opera in the distance, but the guards outside Yayin Garden stopped him and asked to see his identification. Oh no, Leah thought. No one had checked him in the kitchens. Why did he need to be checked at the opera? Besides, where was he supposed to get such a thing? It hadn't occurred to Leah that, because he was wearing Auntie Xie's son's old robes and cloth shoes, he looked like a servant. The manners rule stated that ordinary servants were not permitted in Yayin Garden, which was why the guards stopped him. Leah didn't dare argue with the guards. He didn't have much time left. He didn't need to watch the opera, and if he wasn't welcome here, then there were other places where he could visit. He had decided to go somewhere else, but as soon as he turned around, he came face to face with a familiar figure. Wasn't that Wang Gonggong? Oh goodness. Disabled Tyrant's pampered pet fish? Indeed. Leah barely had time to open his mouth to greet him when Wang Xie waved his hand and all the nearby guards surrounded Leah. Capture this person. Wang Xie was still panting. It was clear he had been running for a while. Just a few minutes ago, he had been scouring the gardens with Prince Jing. He hadn't paid much mind to the news travelling around. That is, until he heard a servant say there was a young lord dressed in only inner robes and wandering around the manor. The more Wang Xie thought about it, the more likely he thought that this was the thief who stole Prince Jing's clothes. He pondered further. The clothes had gone missing together with the fish. That meant the person who stole the clothes was the thief who stole the fish. He immediately alerted Prince Jing, sending someone to fetch him so he could take a look. Leo was shocked at seeing Wang Xie stop him. There was no way all of his arrangements in Prince Jing's room had been found out so that quickly. Yes, unfortunately it has, because your luck is just that bad. Then he remembered he was now human. He had to be careful to not reveal anything and raise Wang Xi's suspicions. Leo smiled as he asked, Wang Gong Gong, what is it? Wangxi scoffed. You thief, you dare ask when you stole His Highness's fish? Li Ye did a double take. Wang Gonggong had always been cordial towards him. He wasn't used to being yelled at. Sob, sob, sob. Wait, did they already discover the fish plushie and the window he had purposefully left open? There wasn't much time left. If he was captured by Wang Shi and it transformed into a fish in front of all these guards, of course, this is how it would go. Li Ye wanted to calm down, but this wasn't something that could be solved by calming down. He had to find a place to hide first. He couldn't turn into a fish in front of all these people. An idea struck. He yanked something out from inside his sleeve and yelled, "Over there!" He hurled the object with all his might. With Wang Shi and the guards distracted, he turned on his heel and broke into a sprint. Wang Shi originally hadn't been certain if this youth was the thief, so he had bluffed. But now, seeing him run away, that meant he really was guilty. I feel like if he just waited for Prince Jing would have been like, "This is not my clothes, what are you on about?" Release him or something like that. But I can understand that he didn't have the time to risk that being a possibility. But still, it's a mess. But the thief was too quick, and Wang Shi didn't get to see what he had flung before he made his escape. Wang Shi gritted his teeth, terrified that the person might have thrown the fish out. He quickly ordered a few guards to take a look, while he and the rest of the guards gave chase. Li Ye sprinted as fast as he could and found a room to hide in. Meanwhile, Prince Jing had been searching with a few people in the gardens. After receiving Wang Shi's message, he rushed over to meet with him. Together, they trapped Li Ye in the room where he was hiding. It was quickly confirmed that what the youth had thrown was fish food. There was no doubt about it. This person had stolen the fish. Wang Shi couldn't have been more furious. Once he caught the person, righteous justice would be doled out. Not only had this person caused trouble during a banquet, they even dared to steal the prince's clothes and his cute, lively fish. They deserve to be sliced through thousands of times. My goodness. But also, I love how Wang Shi in his own head is like, I am indignant over the fact that my master's cute pet fish has been stolen. Cute, lively pet fish. Oh my goodness. Hurry up and come out. Hand over the prince's fish. Otherwise, you'll have to face the consequences. Wang Gonggong yelled fiercely as he banged on the door. Li Ye poked a hole in the window and peeked out. Prince Ding stood outside the room, grim-faced and holding his sword. But as soon as Li Ye laid eyes on Prince Jing, his fish instincts kicked in and he wanted to swish his tail. This man doesn't know if he's human or fish anymore, my goodness. Then he remembered he was human right now. Prince Jing didn't know him as a human. If they met, the sword in the prince's hand would stab him to death. Yeah, and he kind of has confirmation of that right now because of what happened with the assassin in the previous chapter. Leo, quick, turn on your fishy charms. Problem, he is not a fish at the moment though. Wang Shi wanted him to hand over the fish. On the one hand, he was very moved. On the other hand, this wasn't what he wanted at all. The fish in question was right in front of them. What was Li Ye supposed to hand over? At first, he was planning to wait until everyone had left before leaving the room, but with the situation as it was now, Prince Jing and Wang Shi were both waiting for him like predators outside the burrow of a rabbit. There was no way he was leaving anytime soon. Leo's tears were practically flowing down his face. All I did was go out to eat. How did I end up in this situation? Suddenly, the system beeped a warning. User, you cannot maintain your human form for much longer. Stupid system. It usually played dead, but now it was giving him a countdown. He was about to turn back. Isn't that a good thing though? Like, just leave, put the cup down, get in the cup, turn into a fish, and then Oh, and before you do that, open a window so that it looks like you escaped and left the fish behind. Mm. It had taken so much work to transform just once, and now it was all going to be over. Leah only had time to eat one meal, but that wasn't the most important part. The important part was that right now he was trapped in this room. If he turned back in a fish right now, right here, how was he supposed to explain how a human disappeared at the same time the fish appeared? Leah had an idea. Counting down the time, he yelled at the people outside the door, "I won't leave. Come and get me. If you catch me, I'll hand over the fish." Leah was trying to buy some time for himself as well as prepare for what was to come. When a cornered person made such a bold challenge, the reasonable assumption was that they'd laid out some kind of trap, so the people outside usually wouldn't barge in right away. Um, that's a very daring bet that I somehow don't think is gonna pan out. He thought this would be enough to make Prince Ring falter for a bit, but he barely finished shouting before Prince Ring broke through the door. Lia yelped in alarm. A young Mutianchi had never seen, a youth Mutianchi had never seen before, was standing stock still in a jade green robe. The young man glanced back at him before hastily escaping out a window. Mutianchi wasn't going to fall for the same trick twice. He had previously been fooled by the open window, mistakenly believing that the thief had left that way. The thief's deception had led him to look in the wrong place, and he had failed to catch him. This time, he made sure the person had absolutely no escape out of the room. He had several guards stationed at each of the windows before ordering Wang Shi to yell at the thief within. Wu Qianqi chased after the youth, his long legs carrying him across the room in just a few strides, but the youth had already leapt onto the windowsill. He looked over his shoulder and flashed Prince Jing a mischievous grin. Wu Tianqi froze. Was it just him? Or did this youth? He was a delicate, clean young man, his eyes as bright as a coloured glaze. There was something unbelievably familiar in the way his lips quirked up. Wu Tianqi hesitated for a moment, but that moment cost him. All he managed to catch was a single corner of the suspicious youth's robe. In the blink of an eye, the youth jumped out of the window. Wu Tianqi wasn't concerned though. He waited quietly for the guards lying in wait to capture the youth, but after a while, he still heard nothing. Okay, we have some art. I have to say, like, hearing about the fact that Mordu is now getting an adaptation from Seven Seas as well, I'm so excited to see the art. He made his way outside to look for himself. The hidden guards reported they hadn't seen anyone. Mutianchi furrowed his brows and spotted a heap of clothes piled up beneath the window, and on the ground was a tea bowl with his fish inside, swimming happily. Oh, that was the closest of close calls, damn. I'm very happy that we did get him actually seeing the thief, though I kind of had expected it to be under better circumstances, not under the circumstances of the prince thinking that this person had stolen his fish. Because now he's like, even if he does have interest in Leah's human form at this point, it's gonna be overshadowed by like the grim feeling of, oh, this man stole my fish or almost stole my fish. Oh my goodness, that was stressful. Yep. Chapter 21. Fish selling himself. Oh goodness, that sounds intense. Leah's head was swimming at first, but he very quickly realized he had turned back into a fish. His plan should have been foolproof. He was going to act like he had escaped out of the window, disappeared, and left only the fish behind. But first of all, he wasn't expecting Prince Jing to break in so fast. Okay, yes, he was touched by how deeply Prince Jing cared about the fish, but now he had no time for his plan. Not only had the prince seen his true appearance, but he had also almost transformed in front of him. He had nearly tripped in his haste to escape out the window. It was a good thing he turned back into a fish at the moment he jumped, because it turned out Prince Jing had stationed people outside as well. Even if he had escaped from the window, so what? There were all these guards out here, and not one of them had seen so much as a glimpse of him. How could anyone explain the fact that a person had just disappeared and left behind a pile of clothes? Leah thought that at this moment, Prince Jing was even more of a cheater than the system. At least when the system tricked him, he could find a way to get around it. But when it was Prince Jing tricking him, there was nothing he could do about it. The guards who had been lying in wait all agreed that they hadn't seen any youth. As he watched Prince Jing come closer to examine his clothes, Liu waved his tail hard, hoping to divert Prince Jing's attention. There shouldn't be anything incriminating about the clothes he had left behind, but he was afraid Prince Jing would somehow connect the dots. Although the reason he was swishing his tail was to distract Prince Jing, it looked a bit like he was sunning himself. You could have just said it looked a bit like you were happy to see him or something. Please watch the Chinese drama this time. I'm not sure which one you're talking about. Um, hmm, sorry. Selling myself a little is okay, but I absolutely cannot be mistaken for a fish spirit. As soon as Prince Jing heard his tail move, he stooped down to pick up the tea bowl. Leo swished his tail even more vigorously. Prince Jing was still a little angry. He glared at the fish, sparking some guilt in Leo. Knowing how much the prince liked it, he curled his tail around Prince Jing's finger, hoping to appease him. Every time his tail touched the prince's finger, Prince Jing seemed to relax a little. As expected, faced with Liya acting cute on purpose, Prince Jing temporarily forgot about the pile of clothes. My goodness, he literally has this man wrapped around his fin, not the other way around. Lips pursed, the prince pinched the little calf's back gently. Leo knew that meant he was willing to play with him. Pushing his embarrassment aside, Leo continued to sell himself by acting cute. A guard walked over to give him his report. Your Highness, there's a pond nearby. Perhaps the thief fought the guards before they were ready and swam off. The guards had come to the conclusion because with clothes, after all, a person couldn't just disappear into thin air. They'd already given themselves headaches trying to figure this out, but this was the only possibility they could come up with. Leo was shocked. They could even find a rational explanation for something like this. It made sense though. A normal person would never consider the prospect of a human turning into a fish, or a fish turning into a human. Their first deduction would, of course, be that the suspicious youth managed to get away. The guards' explanation wasn't outside the realm of plausibility. Prince Jing nodded, wanting to take a look at the pond himself, in case there was any suspicious footprints or anything like that. Leo desperately threw himself into his palm. There was nothing at the pond. He couldn't let Prince Jing go look. Why can't he let you go look though? Is it because if he looks, then he can confirm that there isn't anything that indicates someone got away that way, and that would open the question back up again? Maybe? Prince Jing's brow was relaxed despite Leah's frequent interruptions. He knocked on the fish's head lightly. Leah had been wondering for a while now why Prince Jing kept doing that, but no one could tell him. Seeing that Prince Jing was no longer so weary though, Leah let out a sigh of relief. He'd finally managed to escape unscathed. It wasn't a terrible outcome that they'd all concluded he must have escaped through the pond. After the guards finished examining his clothes, Wang Shi also confirmed that the inner robes and underwear on the ground belonged to Prince Jing. The fact that he knows that, like, I know it's not uncommon for them to know that, but it's still a funny thought. The rest of the clothes consisted of an ordinary old robe and a pair of old cloth shoes. Auntie Xue was brought over in a matter of minutes. She identified the robe she had given to the youth. Auntie Xue felt terrible. Never did she expect that harmless, innocent youth to be a master fish stealing thief. A master fish. I keep like losing it over that name. As she recalled giving the youth fish food, she felt so immensely regretful she wanted to kick herself. She told them everything she knew. The fish thief was a male concubine who had been chased out by his master's wife. Wang Gonggong didn't know how to process that information. What kind of a ridiculous reason was that? This person stole His Highness's fish because he was being bullied by the wife. Oh my goodness, I don't know why this book is so funny. I think it's more in the phrasing than anything else because obviously like it is kind of funny, but at the same time just the way it's being conveyed is makes it 10 times funnier. Um, mm, what did that have to do with anything? Leo was also listening in Prince Jing's hand, but he could barely understand what they were talking about. It was just someone who'd gotten lost. How did the auntie manage to come up with this scenario where he was someone's side wife? Auntie Xue kept kowtowing. Leo couldn't bear to watch. He peeked at Prince Jing, afraid he was going to punish her out of anger. After observing Prince Jing's expression, Wang Shi intoned severely. For hiding a thief, she should be thrown out of the manor. Leo's heart nearly stopped. No! He wasn't even a thief. Auntie Xue just felt sorry for him and gave him some food to eat. Why did she have to be chased out? He didn't want to get Auntie Xue in trouble all because she'd been kind enough to help him. Leo hurriedly curled his tail around Prince Jing's finger, then rubbed back and forth pitifully. Oh goodness. Prince Jing looked down. He did find the fish in the end, and his pet fish seemed unharmed. Prince Jing was in a pretty good mood. He glanced at Wang Shi. Wang Shi immediately understood. Since the fish master has returned... Okay. Sorry, this is confusing because it's not his title name. It's not Master Fish, but it just sounds strange. Since the fish master has returned unharmed, and in consideration of the fact that you weren't aware of the situation, we won't throw you out this time. 30 strikes of the board. Let this be a lesson learned. What? That is like I know this is things that happen, but like damn. Tears of gratitude. My word, my woman, you deserve so much less than 30 strikes, and you're happy about that. Tears of gratitude poured down her face. She had been too careless. She couldn't afford to lose this job at the Princess Manor. Her skin was thick, and a beating was nothing compared to expulsion. Leo still wasn't happy with this outcome, but as he watched Auntie Xue bow in thanks, sincerity written all over her face, he hoped he had at least helped a little. The guilt in his heart eased somewhat. If he overused his charms, the effect would eventually wear off. Leo stopped before it was too late. Prince Jing, who had been enjoying the fish's attention, was suddenly bereft. Wang Xi waved away Auntie Xie and said to the prince, Your Highness, servant Xue has been dealt with, but the old servant still thinks something's off. Why did the thief steal the fish? Remembering the sleeve he had torn off earlier, Prince Jing indicated to Wang Xi to bring it over. Aside from a few wet patches, there was a silver scale caught on the cloth. Crap. How could he leave behind such an obvious clue? I mean, it's only obvious to you because you know what the context is. Your Highness, Wang Shi said, shocked. How could a fish scale be stuck to the thief's sleeve? A shadow passed over Wang Shi's face. There had been a fish scale on noble consort Xue's handkerchief after she had touched the fish. Since there was one on the thief's sleeve, that could only mean one thing. The thief had also touched the fish. How dare he? Wang Shi spoke for Prince Jing. Your Highness, the fish master has truly suffered a lot. Prince Jing patted the fish's head to comfort him. Huh? Should he celebrate the fact that he had tricked the noble consort before? Now that Prince Jing had found the fish, Wang Shi reminded him there were still guests at Ninghua Hall. The guests all had to wait for him to return to bid their goodbyes if they wanted to leave. This was, after all, a banquet planned by the emperor. It was normal enough for the host to leave temporarily to deal with something, and that was just what Prince Jing was like. But he couldn't just come and go as he pleased. Since Prince Jing was too lazy to go back to his rooms, he headed straight for Ninghua Hall, holding the fish in the tea bowl in his hands. I don't know why that image seems so funny to me. Leah, who had been planning to use the time to secretly take care of a few loose ends, silently protested. No, he didn't want to go meet the second master. But a fish had no say in its master's decisions. Prince Jing carried him into Ninghua Hall and placed him down on the main table. Every single guest in the hall stopped in their tracks. They had all heard that Prince Jing had started taking care of a fish, and that he treasured it like nothing else. This must have been it. It wasn't clear who started it, but the guests all started to shower praise upon the little carp. Oh my. Liu swished his tail happily, feeling a bit giddy. He wasn't as good as they said he was. Yes, he was indeed cute and intelligent, but anyone who said he was prettier than a koi had to be blind. The modesty is just rolling off of him right now. Suddenly, Leah's dark eyes landed on a young man in white dancing robes. This youth was exceptionally pretty, his features so fine they could have been painted on. Amidst the chaos, he stood quietly, standing out in the boisterous crowd. This main character aura, I don't need to seduce anyone, everyone automatically falls for me, aura. Leah startled. Could this be the other protagonist, the bottom? The bottom's name was Chu Yanyu. Leah leaned against the ledge of the tea bowl and observed him. Although he didn't like the second master, Chu Yanyu's delicate features were far too alluring, drawing Leah's eyes to him. Prince Jing's brows knitted. What was the fish staring at? Oh no, he's about to become jealous of the guy that he's supposed to fall in love with. That will be interesting if that happens. With a flick of his long fingers, Prince Jing pushed the little carpet back into the tea bowl. Falling down unexpectedly, Liu playfully splashed some water right at Prince Jing. Except he avoided it. Prince Jing laughed silently. Ye shook his tail, happily thinking that his master was also pretty. He was happy with just looking at the prince, no more looking at Chu Yanyu. My word. Second Prince Mu Tianzhao watched as Prince Jing brought the fish in. His lips twitched, but he didn't say a word. He knew that fish wouldn't die so easily. This was probably another one of Prince Jing's schemes. He seethed silently. How dare Prince Jing threaten him over a fish? The fish is gonna become this man's bane of existence. You know, like, for anyone who has watched Ratatouille, you know how the head chef became over Remy being in the hat, and like this rat that is everywhere and is gonna like is specifically out to get him. It's kind of giving that type of energy right now. When he ascended to the throne, he would make the mute pay. As soon as the third prince, Mu Tianming, saw Prince Jing return, he steeled himself and, for the third time that night, offered to present his dance. Prince Jing allowed it. Despite having been ignored twice so far, Xu Yanyu didn't let it bother him. He shook out his sleeves and glanced behind him. The sixth prince met his gaze from where he sat, not too far away. At the slight dip of the sixth prince's head, Jianye bit his lip and turned to bow graciously. This time, Liye was hanging entirely off the side of the tea bowl. While everyone was gasping at Chuyanye's appearance, Liye was focusing on the moment Chuyanye's eyes flickered to meet the six princes. In the book, Prince Jing had fallen in love with Chuanye as soon as he laid eyes on him, but Chuanye didn't like Prince Jing back. His affections lay with the sixth prince. On the surface, he was a dancer given to Prince Jing by the third prince, but in reality, he was loyal to the sixth prince over either the third prince or Prince Jing. The sixth prince had never been shown any favour by the emperor, and so he had become the third prince's lackey in the hopes that he could live a better life. The third prince needed someone who could sing and dance, so the sixth prince offered up the boy he had loved since they were children, Xianyu, who loved him in return. The sixth prince's ambition was hidden deeply within inside. Sorry, let's try that again. The sixth prince's ambition was hidden deeply inside his heart, but there was only one person he could trust. Xianyu was more than happy to sacrifice himself for the sake of the sixth prince's future. That's actually really sad. Like, I'm weirdly invested in their very tragic sounding love story right now. The dance began. Xianyu had arranged the music and choreographed the routine. Despite all the interruptions so far, the guests were quickly immersed in the exquisite dance. After the group dance came to a duet between Xianyu and another dancer, a stunning woman. Skirts swirled around. The dancers were like white lotuses in full bloom among the lotus leaves. Liu had absolutely no interest in the dance. In fact, he wanted to sink to the bottom of the water, but the tea bowl was too shallow, so he couldn't get very far. He had to settle for lying in the tea bowl, glancing at Prince Jing from the corner of his eye. Prince Jing was enjoying Chu Yanyu's dance. Liu blew a little bubble and turned away. He didn't want to look at him anymore. In the original book, Prince Jing asked Qianyu for his name once the dance was over, but after the last note of the dance dissipated into the air, Prince Jing didn't say anything. The second prince couldn't help but gloat. He might not have been able to put on a show of brotherly love with Prince Jing, but at least the third prince didn't achieve anything either. The third prince couldn't hold it in anymore and asked Prince Jing for his thoughts. Resting his cheek on his hand, Prince Jing gave Wang Shi a slight glance. Wang Shi immediately replied, "It's fine." Dead. I would be dead. Like, can you imagine thinking that you've mastered something to a point where you feel pride in it, and then someone's feedback, someone of note and import's feedback is, "It's fine." Oh my goodness. And that was it. The third and sixth princes, who had worked so hard to present Xianyu to him, were both silent. Liu was even more perplexed. What had happened to the love at first sight that he couldn't resist? Master, have you fallen asleep? Wake up, your wife's about to disappear. Oh my goodness. Okay, we are at the end of a chapter right now, and we are basically 10 minutes to the hour. So I think I am gonna pause here, take the 10-minute break now, and then we will be back at like, shall we say 2 past? I think that should be fine. See, sorry about that. Um, okay, I might have messed up the audio. There was a technical malfunction just now. Uh, so please let me know if the audio is still okay. Hi, Kaylee. And I wanted to see if I could quickly put up a poll here. Um, how should I phrase this? Mm. I just kind of want to get an idea of how you guys are feeling about that. Um, that's my it's my first time putting up a poll for something like this, so I hope it works. Okay, let us get going again. So we were on page 213 for anyone who is following along. Chapter 22. The fish is wanted. Oh my goodness, okay. Are we talking about like he was wondering if Prince Jing was rejecting him and now he feels wanted, or are we talking like a wanted criminal kind of wanted? I see I had a typo there. Um, Prince Jing hadn't taken a fancy to any of the dancers. The third prince had been so confident in Chu Yanyu, but all Prince Jing did was watch the dance. He didn't even give the dancer a second glance. All the praises that Mu Tianming had been ready to sing were suddenly stuck in his throat. Jianye was hardly perturbed. With his eyes lowered to the ground, it was impossible to tell what he was thinking. The sixth prince nudged Mu Tianming. Third brother? Mu Tianming had already embarrassed himself enough today. What was once more? He swallowed his pride and squeezed out a smile. I'm glad fifth brother thought it was fine. I myself had thought it was quite lovely. In fact, I personally selected the lead male and female dancers. Why don't I gift them to fifth brother to pass the time? You don't want to know what he did to the person who tried to climb into his bed not long ago. With him speaking so plainly, everyone knew what the third prince meant. Wu Tianming refused to believe Prince Jing would remain indifferent when faced with a direct gift. Prince Jing switched hands, resting his cheek on his left. He pushed the little carp who had popped out of the water again to look around. Uh, sorry, let me reread that. He pushed the little carp who had popped out of the water again to look around back in. Prince Jing's gaze swept towards Wang Xi once more. Wang Xi, who seemed connected to Prince Jing on an intuitive level, said, His Highness said no. Talk about being slapped in the face twice, damn. Having read Urha 6. Um, I'm trying to think. Let me think a little bit on that, and I'll get back to you. Because I have a moderator who's quite aware of what my, I don't know, like tolerance levels on things are. But generally speaking, I find it much easier to read something than I do to watch it. So, like, for example, I can't watch a torture scene, but I can read it because I'm not a very visual person. Um, but once the image is inside my head via movies and shows, it's much harder to forget. No, not no need or no thanks. No, meant he wasn't even interested. Mu Tianming was at a loss for words. Prince Jing, are you unhappy with me in some way? Qian Yu's thin back was ramrod straight, fingers curled tightly into fists. His eyes flickered with fury. He'd already had someone in his heart, but for Prince Jing to treat him in such a way was downright humiliating. An extremely prideful man, Qian Yu wasn't going to let such an indignity pass without questioning it. That's kind of hypocritical. Like, oh, I'm not interested in this prince at all. I'm just doing this to manipulate him for the person that I am interested in. But how dare he not be interested in me? Mm. Liu was shocked. He didn't expect this. Was this still the delicate little concubine from the book who treated Prince Jing coldly? How did it get flipped around? As soon as he finished speaking, though, Qian Ye regretted his thoughtlessness. Prince Jing smiled mockingly, shook his head, and rose, tea-bowl in hand. He ordered Wang Shi to send off their guards. Qian Ye didn't know how to react. Did Prince Jing shake his head because he was dissatisfied with him? Wang Shi suddenly spoke. Chu Gongze, don't misunderstand. His Highness doesn't mean anything by it. Only, what concern would it be of His Highness whether you were good enough or not? The third prince, Qian Ye, and the sixth prince were all shocked into silence. Mu Tianming's head started to hurt. Prince Jing wouldn't even accept a gift that was hand-delivered to him. What was he supposed to do now? Prince Jing kept Li Ye in the tea bowl, preventing the little cop from jumping out. Li secretly shot through Li Ye at seeing Prince Jing's indifference towards Qian Ye. You might want to examine why you're feeling glee over that. Like, I feel bad for Qian Ye because of his situation, but also not really. I understand where he's coming from to a certain extent. What made it just a little bit like irksome for me in comparison to how I felt before is the fact that he was indignant over someone not being interested in him. Because, how should I put it? Like, Prince Jing said, oh, the performance is fine. And then the other princes pushed him, and after that only was when he put down his foot, and he just said no. He didn't say no, she's like, he's not to my taste, no, get him away from me or anything like that. He just said no. So it's not even a very offensive rejection for Jian Ye to be getting so worked up about, in my opinion at least. And especially considering he's a prince and probably they're by nature quite high maintenance. Um, hmm. I went off on a tangent there. Now I've lost my place. In the book, Prince Jing had constantly chased after Qian Ye, doing too much for his sake and getting injured too many times. If Prince Jing hadn't fallen in love with him, did that mean the prince's heart was safe? But would changing the plot have some impact on Prince Jing in the future, due to the butterfly effect? After some internal struggle, Liu Ye stopped worrying about it. He was here to change Prince Jing's personality, after all. And wasn't that already a change to the original plot of the book? Leah finally returned to Prince Jing's room. The prince poured him back into the crystal fish tank, where Leah noticed the plush had disappeared. The prince had probably already figured out the secret. Leah smiled derisively. There was no way Prince Jing had figured out that he was the one who placed the decoy, right? No, there was almost no chance. If Prince Jing couldn't even conceive of the possibility of him transforming into a human, how could he come to the conclusion that a fish had placed the plush? No, there was nothing to worry about. He was going to keep on following Prince Jing and kissing up to him. As Prince Jing paced before the fish tank, Li Ye chased after him. Suddenly the prince stopped. He pulled something out of his sleeve and dropped it into the fish tank. Bemused, Li Ye looked up and saw a blackish blob floating down slowly to land next to him. It was a fish that looked exactly like him. Li Ye did a double take. Wasn't this the plush? He snuck a glance at Prince Jing. What did he mean by this? Acting as though he was an ordinary fish who didn't have a single thought in his brain, he snatched the plush up. He didn't dare drag the plush onto the bed of white rocks and cover it with a leaf blanket like before. That would just be outright exposing himself. He swam a few laps in the water, nudging the plush like it was a toy. Prince Jing saw how much the little carp seemed to enjoy playing with the toy. From far away, it looked like he had a pair of inseparable pet fish. The prince paused, suddenly annoyed with the big fish. They are both as bad as each other. Like, I would actually go as far as to say Prince Jing is a little bit worse because, whereas, I can't believe I'm trying to reason this out, but like Leah, at least in his mind, is still somewhat a human, even when he is acting like a fish. So it's fine for him to fall in love with a human because he once was a human. But the fact that, like, a prince is getting jealous over the attention being paid to a fake fish. My goodness. Like, I understand that this is your very first pet, but damn. Both high maintenance boys for sure. Oh goodness, I need to stop losing my place. He'd have Wangxi get rid of it later, but he had other things to take care of, so he walked over and sat down at his desk. Leah had thought of a new way of playing with the plush by laying it across his back like he was carrying it. The plush was very light, so he didn't feel tired at all. After playing for a while, he realized Prince Jing was preoccupied with work, so the little carp pressed himself up against the walls of the crystal tank to peek at him. Prince Jing was drawing again. He had painted the little carp once before in Jintai Hall, and even asked Wang Xi to hang it up afterwards. Prince Jing had brought the painting with him when he returned to the manor, where it was currently hanging on the wall, diagonally opposite the crystal fish tank. Was Prince Jing drawing him again? Leah thought delightedly. I'm gonna guess yes, but not the you that you're expecting. Indeed, so much vinegar. Prince Jing chugging that vinegar. He was gonna go pose. Leah abandoned the fish plush and jumped into the tea bowl on the floor. He, his agility had been compromised slightly after devouring basically an entire feast as a human, and it took him a few jumps to reach Prince Jing's desk. There was a flower petal shaped tea bowl on the desk that he'd visited quite often. Prince Jing seemed to have expected that the fish would come watch him paint, as he didn't seem the slightest bit surprised at the carp's sudden appearance. This is the strangest setup ever, but I'm kind of loving it still, regardless of how ridiculous it is. Prince Jing's painting was a little larger this time. Leah held his breath. Although it wasn't done yet, and he couldn't see the entire thing right now, he could make out a hand and a foot. They seemed to be wearing clothes. Prince Jing wasn't drawing a fish this time. He was drawing a person. Leah's heart sank. Was this Chu Yanyu? Despite rejecting the third prince, Prince Jing's heart was still with Chu Yanyu. But that didn't seem like Prince Jing's style at all. In the book, Prince Jing was the kind of man who would stop at nothing to keep the person he loved by his side. There was no chance that Prince Jing was still thinking about Chu Yanyu after he'd rejected him outright. It was more likely this was a portrait of Wang Xi than it was of Chu Yanyu. Li Ye waited quietly for Prince Jing to finish drawing and then coloring. This painting was a little complicated, and it took him a full hour to complete. Prince Jing picked up the painting and shook it. That was when Li Ye finally got a good look at the entire thing. Prince Jing was a really talented painter, and the colors seemed to come together with a vivid and lifelike impression. Captured in the strokes of the painting was a youth in green robes. His hands rested on the windowsill as he turned back, a smile lighting up his face. Holy crap, why did this person look kind of familiar? My dude, you don't even recognize yourself anymore? Wasn't this his human form? Did Prince Jing recreate the moment he almost got caught? Prince Jing painting a fish was understandable, but a person he barely met? The little carp couldn't figure it out. Prince Jing set the painting to the side and rang a jade bell to call for his servants. Wang Xi quickly entered from outside. Prince Jing handed the painting over to Wang Xi solemnly. Wang Xi then leaned in and whispered something in his ear for the prince's confirmation. After his affirmative, Wang Xi's expression looked rather serious. Okay, now we know what kind of wanted this fish is. It is definitely not the desired kind. Was Prince Jing going to ask Wang Xi to hang it up so that his human portrait and fish portrait were side by side? They were both him, but it was a little weird. Rest assured, Your Highness, Wang Xi said. This old servant will order the guards to look for the person in the portrait immediately. What? Prince Jing drew a circle on the paper. Wang Xi nodded. I'll make sure they search along the pond's edge. We'll definitely find this person. He'd spent so long distracting Prince Jing with his body, and the prince was still determined to capture him. In any other context, that would mean something entirely different, but okay. Well, whatever. Even if they had the portrait, they wouldn't be able to find him. They wouldn't find anything in the pond because the person they were searching for was currently in Prince Jing's fish tank. After the banquet in Prince Jing's manor, a dejected third prince left with Chu Yanyu and the others. Wu Tianming refused to believe that all his careful preparations had gone down the drain. After a round of discussions with his trusted advisors, he decided to deliver Chu Yanyu and the other female lead dancer to Prince Jing's manor anyway. Dude, what do you not understand about it? No, like, do you want them to die because they come in uninvited? As soon as he left them there, Mu Tianming dashed off faster than a thief, thus forcing Prince Jing to accept them. The news of the third prince gifting Prince Jing some people circulated quickly, soon reaching the emperor's ears. The emperor was amused, but ultimately he was quite pleased to see the third prince's efforts to get on Prince Jing's good side. The banquet had been held on behalf of Prince Jing and the second prince, but according to his scouts, Prince Jing's fish had vanished after the second prince visited Prince Jing's room. Was it the second prince causing trouble for the fish again? Wow, like the emperor's people are on it, reporting all the gossip to him. The emperor was still alive now, but the second prince couldn't even let a fish go. What would happen later? Would he try to get rid of Prince Jing? Ooh, I wasn't expecting the Emperor's thought process to go to those extremes so quickly. It's weirdly refreshing, like, because usually the Emperors just act very unaware of everything, and like they might even be aware of things, but they just kind of ignore it, at least in the dramas that I've watched, and it's very annoying. Sorry. Mm. The Emperor wondered if he had revealed his choice of crown prince to noble consort Chu too early. This wasn't the first time Mu Tianzhao had disappointed him, after all. As a warning to the second prince, a few days after the banquet, the Emperor awarded only the third prince with a tea set. Oh, great, that's just gonna add salt to the wound for Mu Tianzhao. This is not good. It wasn't anything precious, but no one else received this honor, not even the second prince. Because the emperor had rewarded him specifically right after he sent people to Prince Jing's manor, Mu Tianming thought he had headed on the right way to get closer to Prince Jing. This could only mean that the emperor hoped he and Prince Jing could get along. The sixth prince had also correctly guessed the emperor's intentions. The emperor rewarded only the third prince and not the second prince, signaling the beginning of the second prince's downfall. Damn, okay. This is all thanks to your recommendation. Mu Tianming smiled as he patted Mu Tianshao's shoulder. It was a good idea to send Qi and Ye into Prince Jing's manor. This, sorry. The sixth prince's smiled. Hmm. The sixth prince smiled back gently, not letting even a sliver of resentment show on his face, even though his lover had gone to Prince Jing's manor. Yanye's clever. He won't let you down, brother. When Prince Jing heard the news from Wang Shi, his expression was mild. Wang Shi Gonggong already had a wealth of experience with outsiders trying to cram people inside the manor. Oh my goodness. The emperor himself had sent many people over the years, men and women, fat and skinny. Prince Jing didn't like any of them, so they were all sequestered in a courtyard in the manor. No one was allowed to come out without permission. That is a terrible life to lead just because you were gifted to a prince. Like, damn. I feel bad for them. Mm. After they'd stayed for a year, those who wanted to leave the manor could leave. Those who wanted to stay all became servants. Okay, that's like still not great, but it's bearable in comparison to some other ways people are treated. Now the third prince had sent over Chu Gongze and his female counterpart. His Highness had already made it very clear he didn't want them, but the third prince had gone and left them there anyway. Looking at Prince Jing's expression, Wang Xi knew that the courtyard was about to get two new additions. Chapter 23. Bathing with the fish. Oh my goodness, really? We're going there? I don't know if I'm ready. Okay. Leah was completely oblivious to the roundabout way Jianye was entering the manor. He assumed a direct rejection by Prince Jing would be enough to put him off. A grand total of 0 sparks had flown between the main top and bottom. Leah was a bit worried that it'd affect Prince Jing's future. System, he called out, What will happen if the plot completely changes? Prince Jing hadn't taken to Chu Yan'ye at all. It felt off to him. The system rose from the dead to reply, everything will be fine as long as the user completes his more fish mission. Okay, so it doesn't matter how he changes the story as long as his mission is completed. That's a interesting thing. Like, I can see it coming with its own complications, but at least he's not going to be penalized for changing the plot. Did that mean the plot was allowed to become totally unrecognizable then, as long as he completed his fishy mission? Liu was kind of excited. At first, he'd been worried that the fish scamming system would give him some kind of mission to get Prince Jing and Qianyu together, but apparently the plot progression was none of his business. It'd be pretty nice if Prince Jing could dodge the angsty relationship he had with Qianyu altogether, he thought. Besides, if Prince Jing didn't like Qianyu, Qianyu probably didn't like Prince Jing either. How could a fish like him press their heads together and order them to kiss? It'd be impossible. Why am I just thinking about Sebastian singing Kiss the Girl in The Little Mermaid? For the first time, Liu felt like it wasn't that bad to have a system. Sure, it scammed him all the time, but it wasn't totally useless. You say that now. OC mode activated. Just as he was celebrating, the system reminded him. The altered plot will affect the course of future events. Plot points unrelated to the altered plot will still progress, and plot points related to the altered plot will change accordingly. Please be prepared, as the user will not be familiar with the modified plot. That's a fair point. Sorry, I don't know why my throat has gone so scratchy all of a sudden. Did I just hit the mic? I'm so sorry. It was rare for the fish scamming system to be so talkative, but what it was saying made sense to Li. The original book did have a lot of plot lines that revolved around the relationship angst between Prince Jing and Qi Yan'ye, so those plot lines would obviously be influenced if Prince Jing wasn't pursuing Qi Yan'ye. That was the butterfly effect. Li, the fish, was very generous. It's alright, I'll be prepared. You say that now because you don't think you're going to become the prince's love interest, but because this is a Danmei book, with you on the cover in the second volume, I'm assuming that that changes pretty soon. So you're going to regret saying that. But would it affect Prince Jing's path to the throne? What if the butterfly effect was too strong and ended up slapping his throne away with its unnaturally muscular wings? Prince Jing was the Di's son, and he didn't get along with the other princes, so if he couldn't become the emperor, he was practically guaranteed a miserable fate. So Liu Ye still wanted him to become the emperor. System. No matter how it happens, the tyrant's protagonist status guarantees he will become the emperor. This is an unavoidable canon event. Yay, okay, so we have some safety nets. With that sentence, Liu was reassured. Next, he planned to slowly and leisurely study how he was going to attain a deep understanding of the tyrant. Oh right, since you answered me, then help me with this too. I think I understand Prince Jing pretty well already, so what exactly does a deep understanding mean? Sure enough, the fish scamming system promptly played dead as soon as he brought up one of his missions. Typical. No matter, Liu still politely bade the system good day. Then he regained his senses. He found that Prince Jing had lifted him out from the fish tank again. From time to time, the little fish would simply fall asleep like this, and whenever that happened, Prince Jing would watch over him. They were both used to it by now. Leo flapped his tail to show that he was alive and kicking, but Prince Jing frowned. Perhaps he'd happened to touch Leo's belly when he lifted him out of the tank and felt that something was off, because he was currently rubbing Leo's fish belly. Ah, Prince Jing's actions reminded Leo that his normally flat fish belly was a little swollen. Right, he remembered. When he turned into a human, he'd absolutely gorged himself, but his bulging stomach was the same after he turned back into a fish. Perhaps the system didn't notice this problem either. I just ate too much. I'm fine. Leo wanted to explain, but he couldn't. Prince Jing kept rubbing his belly with that strange expression on his face for a bit, until he came to the conclusion that the fish was sick again and called for someone to come. Oh goodness, shame, he's so concerned. He's such a doting husband without the husband part yet. The servants who'd examined the fish for sickness before now examined his belly for a bit. One of them wiped the sweat from his forehead and said, "Your Highness, the fish seems to have eaten too much. It'll go away for after a little more swimming around." Another servant added, "It's not because the fish is pregnant." The other servant present wanted to poke their eyes out. This fish was male. Why did His Highness ask such a question? And where do you think the pregnancy situation would come from, good sir? But also, to be fair to the prince, clownfish can change genders. So if you're not familiar with the different fish species, maybe you can assume that most fish can do it. I don't know. What? Liu was scared witless by what the servant had said. Pregnant? Did Prince Jing think he had a little fish inside him? How would that be possible? Men couldn't get pregnant, and male fish couldn't give birth to little fish, depending on what fish you are. Did Prince Jing get his gender wrong even though he'd been taking care of him for so long? Nia puffed up in anger. After the fish had been examined to his satisfaction, Prince Jing tried pushing him around with his finger so he could digest his food, but Lia had no desire to move. He just lay there on the prince's hand. Luckily, the food he'd eaten when he was human was still easily digestible when he turned back into a fish, so Lia was back to normal in no time, full of whim and vigor. The recovered Leo soon forgot his anger and started trying to think of things he could do that might help him get a deeper understanding. He had a breakthrough when he remembered a saying he'd often heard in modern times. As a man, to obtain a deeper understanding of another man, one must take a bath with him. The ideas this fish comes up with is truly impressive. He might as well try and take a bath with Prince Jing, he thought. He managed to complete the bed sharing task after all, so how hard could it be to take a bath with him? I would not want a fish in my bath water. No, thank you. If Prince Jing was willing to put him on his jade pillow, he probably wouldn't be against bringing him into the bathtub. Provided, of course, that he didn't fall into hot water and turn the whole tub into fish stew. I didn't even think about that part yet. But the hot water problem was easy to solve. There were definitely ladles in the bathroom or other tools for scooping up hot water. Leo couldn't help thinking that it would be nice to have a mission where his job was to become a little hot spring fish. But the system ignored him. It probably thought he wasn't worth talking to. When it was time for Prince Jing to take a bath, Liu jumped around more excitedly than he ever had before. Wang Shi was outside holding a portrait of human Liu, stopping at nothing to try and capture his likeness. But when he turned around and caught sight of the little carp, his wrinkles bloomed into a smile. The amount of doting this man has over the fish is just truly endearing. Little thing, do you want to get into the bath with His Highness? Why is Wang Shi so good at understanding without vocalization? It is truly impressive. Ah, yes, because when I meet someone new, I automatically think that I must have a bath with them instantly. Leo leapt towards the side of the fish tank. He went all out this time, becoming completely shameless, blowing bubbles at Wang Shi and acting cute. Wang Shi consulted Prince Jing. Prince Jing found Lia's actions a little strange too, and after a bit of thought, he agreed and had someone make the proper arrangements. Wang Shi fetched a large wooden ladle meant to hold water, which he used to scoop out the little carp from the tank, along with some of the water. In the bathroom, Prince Jing had already finished making preparations. There were quite a lot of charcoal braziers in the bathroom, making the room warm and cozy. Behind the screen placed in the middle of the room was a bathtub almost as tall as a person, where Prince Jing sat in his inner robes, motioning Wang Shi to come over and put the wooden ladle in the water. The wooden ladle holding the little carp floated in the bathtub, making it look like Prince Jing was bathing in the bathtub while the fish was bathing in the ladle. Wouldn't the water still heat up though, or would it just take long enough that it wouldn't be an issue? Also, quick question about the Urha issue. Do you have Discord? Because if you have Discord, you can. I'll talk to you about how you can send the things you're worried about to the moderator, and she can just check it. Um, Leah wiggled eagerly in the ladle, trying to move it towards Prince Jing, but the ladle was much lighter than the small tea bowls he was used to, and since it was both floating in water and filled with water, he found it hard to control his strength. Leah couldn't move the ladle forward, and instead started spinning in circles. He was pretty dizzy after just a couple of spins. Prince Jing smiled a little and lifted his hand to stop the spinning ladle. When Leo fully came back to his senses, he was met with the sight of Prince Jing's handsome face, a face that seemed even more pristine in the bath. He even saw a water droplet slide down Prince Jing's cheek to his Adam's apple. His Adam's apple rolled, and the water droplets fell. My goodness. And we get an image. We get a illustration, guys. I don't know if we're ready, but here we are. I kind of I'm a little bit surprised that we haven't had commentary from Leah about the fact that he didn't think through Prince Jing being naked there. But maybe it's just not an issue for him. You know, maybe he's used to bathing with other men in the same bath. Leah hadn't inadvertently bitten or chewed anything this time, but just like last time, he felt like he was getting cooked over a fire. It was definitely the hot water's fault. He buried his head in the wooden ladle's water, feeling a bit embarrassed. Calm down a little, he told himself firmly. He was a fish who would do anything to complete his quests. He must not be tempted by the beauty of his owner. My goodness. Guys, He lifted his head, wanting to swim closer, but he used too much strength, and instead of spinning in place, the ladle abruptly tilted to the side and fell over. Seriously, he was about to win a Darwin Award here. Hot water surged into the ladle, and Leah lamented that there were more ways for little fish to die than just turning into fish bones and fish ashes. If you were just a normal fish and not as active, you would not be in half of the death situations you have been in. After everything he'd gone through, he still had to contend with being boiled into soup. The water. Huh? The water's not hot? A stunned Leo floated in the hot water for a bit before it sank in that he could still swim. The water pouring in from the tub was cold too. What was going on? Did this man really just take a cold bath in case his fish fell out of its bucket? Ladle, whatever you want to call it? He's so committed to this fish. Like, I don't think most husbands are this committed to their wives. And the picture is so cute. What was going on? Leah carefully swam out of the upended wooden ladle, now in the same bathtub as Prince Jing. It didn't take too long for him to understand what was going on. Prince Jing had replaced the hot water in the tub with cold water since he wanted to play in the bathtub. Oh my goodness. Oh no, how could you treat me so well? Leah flapped his tail twice, trying to swim closer to his owner. It was rare for a fish and his human to be so close, with nothing in between them. Prince Jing smiled slightly as he scooped up a handful of water and poured it on Leah's head, as if he was getting revenge on the little fish for all the times he'd been splashed in the past. Why is there so much chemistry between a man and his fish? Like, what is going on? Prince Jing really puts his fish first in priority, yes? Get yourself a partner who will take a cold bath for you. Indeed, it's quite a high bar to meet. You bully, you dare tease a fish? Leo shook off the water on his head while Prince Jing smirked smugly. Leo had never seen an expression on him, and without pausing to think, he leapt over, opened his mouth, and... Sorry, hold on, let me try that again. Leo had never seen such an expression on him, and without pausing to think, he leapt over, opening his mouth and biting chronically. Fish and just wanting to bite every inch of Prince Jing. A human and a fish were tussling in the water. At first, Wang Xi was worried that Prince Jing wouldn't be able to physically tolerate being soaked in cold water, but the water he was bathing in had been left in a warm room with charcoal braziers for a while by now, so it shouldn't be freezing cold anymore. Plus, Prince Jing would sometimes practice his martial arts in cold water during winter, so it should be fine. Excuse me, during winter? I think if he can handle cold water during winter, he'll be fine, because it's summer right now, right? Here, not here, like here. But just in case, Wang Shi still prepared some ginger soup for when Prince Jing got out of the bath to drive away the cold. His Highness seemed in much better spirits after the little thing, Master Fish, joined him in the tub. Wang Shi was sincerely happy for Prince Jing as he listened to them splashing around from outside. After the bath, Liu was scooped back in the wooden spoon and brought out by Prince Jing himself. Liu tithered happily. There had been a mission update during the water fight with Prince Jing. It looked like taking a bath together to understand a man deeply was the correct line of thinking. The fact that he reached so far and reached correctly is just astounding. Like, I feel as if that is his golden finger, just guessing and getting things right. Leo waited until the middle of the night to check out the reward. He'd been in a bad mood back when the quest first popped up, so he hadn't been paying too much attention to it, but he told himself to keep his expectations low. The first scamming system had given him a lousy fish plushie last time after all. When he collected the reward, a bright light briefly flashed under his fin, before disappearing, much like what had happened when he received the inventory reward. Leo lowered his head to take a glance. Next to the jade scale that he used to access his inventory, there was another very similar scale. What is this for? What if he tapped the wrong one in the future, since they looked so similar and were so close to one another? Leo tried to poke the new scale, but he didn't feel anything in particular. The next moment, though, he found that his body had grown bigger. He looked towards his fins in surprise, only to find that his fins had turned into hands. Wait, what? Can he now actually turn into a human at will, even if it's only for, like, maybe the designated 2 hours at a time per day, maybe? I think I'm being too optimistic here. I feel like it's going to be some weird alternate version to that. Yes, when you don't study and still somehow get an A on the test, that is 100% it. The poll is 50-50. I don't think we're being of any help. Oh, goodness. It was 60 for a long time. uh, but yeah, I'll check at the end of the stream, and then maybe I should just put up a poll on the community tab as well. Um, Delighted, Leah asked, "System, what's going on?" He touched his face happily. His face was smooth, free of fish scales. He didn't understand why, but he turned into a human. Was this what the system was talking about when it said he could turn back into human if he kept completing missions? Was he fully back now? "Apologies, user. This is just a skill," the system began to explain, late as always. Skill? The main mission will become increasingly complicated from here onward and will be harder to complete if you can't turn into a human, the system said. The reward this time is a skill that allows you to maintain your human form for an hour once per day. Okay, that's close to what I was thinking. Unfortunately, not the 2 hour time limit, but an hour. Like, that's decent. I feel like it's gonna bring him more trouble than it's worth, but we can't ship a fish and a man forever. We need them to actually become part of the same species again. Wait, didn't the system say there was only one bottle of the transformation medicine? The system was lying again. I mean, it's not lying, it's just kind of like being very specific with how it's wording things. The system was lying again. If he'd known he was going to get a skill that would let him turn human for an hour a day, he wouldn't have been so stingy and calculating when he used the transformation medicine. There is only one bottle of the transformation medicine. The reward this time is a skill. But if you dislike it, user, you can give it up. Leo panicked. Who said I wanted to give it up? I earned this by working hard on my quest. He hunched over his jade scales protectively. Now that he turned back into a human, the jade scales had turned into two scale-like markings under his arm. Then please use it well, the system replied. The next mission is the final quest in the Priceless Pet Fish mission. Once it's completed, all your stats will be doubled. Your inventory slots will be increased by 1, and you can begin the side mission, Turn into a Koi. Was he finally about to finish the main quest? The reward sounded quite lavish, and he would be able to start the long-awaited Koi mission soon. But what exactly was the last mission? I'm kind of concerned about what Prince Jing is gonna think about his prized fish turning into a koi. Like, is he gonna think that it's still his fish? Or is he gonna doubt it until he sees the display of personality that is similar to the fish that he's come to know and love. And then there's gonna be a lot of like calculating and trying to figure out what the hell happened to his precious fish. Mm. In the mindscape where the system resided, the words Tyrant's priceless pet fish started glowing gold. Leah examined the last step of the quest. The last step, intimate contact with the Tyrant. Intimate how? Should I be concerned? There was no more details. Leah suddenly had a bad feeling. Wait, intimate contact? Is that the kind of intimate contact I'm thinking of? Please come to your own conclusions, user. Okay. When it really mattered, the system had started. Nonsense again. Leah puttered around the system for a while. His time as a human ran out quickly, and he changed back into a fish. Okay, hold up. So, as a human, can he now breathe underwater, or like did he pop out of the tank and just like chill there with his head sticking out of the tank so that he could breathe? Okay, anyway, let's not think about that right now. It doesn't really matter. Mm. Since this transformation was the result of a skill instead of medicine, Leah didn't feel any unpleasant side effects. Now that the transformation was finished, the jade scale lost its luster, indicating that it could not be used until the next day. With this skill, he could turn into a human once in a while, but he had to be careful. He couldn't show himself whenever he wanted, since Spruce was still looking for him everywhere. Fully occupied, he exited the system. Luckily, even though he'd been in his human form in the system, in the waking world he was still a fish. Okay? We're not gonna question it. We're reading a fish, don't we? Perhaps the system had helped him. The image of a human man fainting in a fish tank was pretty alarming. He'd already progressed to the last stage of Price's pet fish. Just one more step, and he'd be done with the main quest. He was getting closer and closer to turning back into a human, and to do that, he had to work hard to achieve intimate contact. Yet the only intimate contact he could think of was mouth to mouth. Well, I mean, that's fair, and it's like it could still get you skewered by a sword, but it's not as invasive as other potential things that could also be classed as intimate contact. With the help of the T-balls laid out across the floor, Leah jumped lightly from the fish tank to the foot of the bed. It was late now, so Prince Jing was asleep. Leah stared at his luscious lips, remembering how he'd bitten them before and had to apologize for it with fish food. And now he had to do something so shameless. No need to think too much. It was just a mission. He and Prince Jing were already good friends who understood one another deeply. Are we sure about that? Leah kept telling himself, so he had to strike while the iron was hot and get this over with now. It would only get more embarrassing as time went on. Having managed to convince himself, the little carp jumped on the jade pillow, closed his eyes, and inched his fish lips forward. But it was so much easier to do something like this accidentally. Doing it on purpose was hard. Leah felt he'd been inching forward for a while, but the softness, he remembered, still seemed out of reach. He opened his eyes only to find that Prince Jing had turned around. Leah stared at the back of his head. You were about to kiss his hair at this rate. Then I'll jump again. He leapt onto the other side, doing his best to stretch his fish lips, but he still didn't make contact. He opened his eyes. Prince Jing opened his eyes too. Great, great, great. Leah all but forgot where he was. With a guilty conscience, He immediately started flapping his tail, revealing his impure intentions. Except his thumping on the jade pillow was way too loud. Sob, sob, sob. What should I do? Prince Jing, who had probably been woken up by the fish jumping around, found his pet lying on his pillow and flapping its tail as soon as he woke up. Still sleepy, Prince Jing dragged the nearest bowl over and put the fish in. He patted Leah's head lightly and lay down to sleep again. I love how unfazed he is. He's just like, oh, my fish is in my bed. Let me just grab a bit of water for him and go back to sleep. And does letting friends touch my Dunmay books and merch count as allowing intimate contact? 100%. 100%. Those are holy grail items. What the hell? Could someone tell Liu what the head patting meant? Liu didn't dare make another attempt to inch his mouth forward. He didn't want to wake up the sleeping figure in front of him again. Forget it. Next time. Well, he wasn't in a hurry anyway. Liu hunkered down next to Prince Jing and fell asleep too. Okay, I think I'm gonna... Okay, let's just finish at least the page and then we'll stop there for the night. An unexpected visitor came to Prince Jing's manor. Prince Jing was cold towards most people, so he hardly ever invited any guests. There were usually only two types of people who came to the manor. The first type was people from the palace who were there to sort out business and announce royal edicts. The second type was Ye Qinghyun, the heir of the House of Chang'an. This young lord liked a good crowd, the opposite of Prince Jing's preferred solitude, but he just wasn't afraid of Prince Jing's frosty disposition and often came to the manor just to hang out. Ye Shizi didn't care that every time he visited, Prince Jing's face was as dark as the bottom of a wok. It made him happy even. Prince Jing could tell everyone else who came to scram, but not him, because Ye Shizi was his cousin. At most, he could only order the guards to grab Ye Qingyan by the collar and throw him out. That is peak extrovert befriending or / acquiring an introvert's energy. Okay, I'm gonna end it here for tonight. So I'm unsure at the moment what day I'm gonna be picking up the live streams next week. I don't know, it's definitely not gonna be Monday, but otherwise maybe just keep an eye out, because it might be the normal time of Tuesday and Thursday, but I might also switch it up and do it on Wednesday and Friday, because I do still want to see how that goes. I'm not sure, Anyway, I will see you guys whenever next week for the next 2 read-alongs, and based on the poll where we are at the moment, it's barely a win, but I think we are, at least for now, going to be continuing with just this one and not moving over to both this and Urha at the same time. Okay, I will see you guys then. 再见。